Hi everyone, and welcome to the Publishing Performance Show. Today I'm really happy to be joined by Chris Benetti, who is the founder of Smart Author Media, and he's a book funnels expert, and he has sold over 55,000 books for his clients. So welcome to the show, Chris.
Oh, thanks for having me, Teddy.
No problem. So tell me about your book funnels, because when we were in the chat before, you talked about your self-liquidating book funnels. So what does that exactly mean?
Yeah, so ultimately when we work with clients, our first kind of goal is how do we offset ad spend as much as possible, if not completely. So self-liquidation basically is just making the same amount of money as it costs you to get someone to buy something from you in the first place. So as an example, if it costs us $20 to get someone to buy a book, how do we make $20 when they buy the book, if not more? And that's through a self-liquidating book funnel. And really to expand on that comes in the form of selling the book, but then also selling additional offers alongside the book, so that what we're really doing is increasing the amount someone spends when they're buying the book in one transaction.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So you're not talking about just the ad paying for the profit from the book itself. It's actually the other processes and the other services you can add on at the end.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people, when they go to launch a book, they think that they are going to make all this profit from the book, and it's really never the case. I've had zero examples working with a few dozen clients at this point where someone has just sold a book and made profit on a book. And especially when you start to consider advertising costs, you start to consider agency costs and even fulfillment costs if you've got something physical. There's a lot of aspects that come into play that basically lower your initial profit when someone buys the book in the first place.
Do you find that the price of the book has any impact on the sales, or, because books are quite competitive? Do you find that having a more expensive book means that you will get less sales?
Absolutely, yeah. So anything kind of above a $25 price point and or euros, you'll start to see traction go down quite a lot. So when we start to price things like full priced in the book funnel, we'll typically see our conversion rates of people who come from an ad to lower below 5%. So let's just say we had 100 people click on an ad, we'll only have 5 people or less buy the book. If we start to think about doing more creative offers or doing lower priced books, then we can see that conversion rate go higher. And usually my sweet spot is in between 8 and 12% of cold traffic. Everyone who clicks to see the book sales page actually buys the book.
Wow, that's quite a high conversion rate. And so is that all coming from, so I'm guessing it's mostly coming from Facebook ads where you're sending the traffic?
Yeah. So we specifically work in the Meta suite of ads. And so that's Facebook and Instagram specifically.
Nice. So let's go through what these book funnels look like, because on your website, I know you've got these hundreds of resources, and I've actually used some of them myself, and it helps you to get those funnels set up in the first place. So can we go through the nuts and bolts of what that funnel looks like?
Yeah, for sure. So the first kind of starting place is a sales page for the book, right? So this typically includes things like, obviously you have a really good headline to sell the book, depending on who your niche is for, but that's the kind of the best part of the page that's going to gauge people to start to want to scroll through the page and get more information about whether they should buy the book or not. So having a good hook and utilizing platforms like ChatGPT to help you write that kind of stuff, it kind of knows a lot of copy frameworks, is a really good resource. Beyond that, we like to include things like what's inside the book. So usually I'll get the 10 best things inside the book. I'll reference what page they're on. I'll write a little blurb about it so that people can kind of have like a preview insider insight to what's in the book and if it's going to be beneficial for them. I like to include reasons why someone should buy the book. I like to include social proof. So this is Amazon reviews, or if you've gotten reviews and testimonials from other sources, I like to include that in the sales page. I like to include FAQs about the book. So just reasons why someone should get the book and overcoming any questions they may have around that. Obviously, money back guarantees, bonuses, if you have bonuses that go alongside the book. Like if I wrote a book, I might give all those resources that Teddy mentioned as a bonus to the book so that they can go ahead and access that and get some more success with the content of the book itself. You'd probably include an author bio and so on. And so like there's quite a few elements that go into the sales page. That's the first kind of step in the book funnel process. Usually on these pages, I like to do what's called a 2-step order form. And what this means is it's basically a multi-step process in buying. So step 1, they submit their information like name, email, phone number, address if it's a physical book. And that basically allows for you to capture their details even if they don't buy the book itself, which is really powerful for us to do remarketing to. So with Facebook ads, we can market to those people who don't actually complete their purchase. And it also allows us to re-email market to them as well. So this is called typically abandoned cart. So if they don't go through their purchase, then we can go and send them emails about completing their purchase, things like that. The second step of this form is where we can go ahead and include our next offer, which is called an order bump. And this is basically just a checkbox on the order page just after or before they fill in their credit card details, which allows for you to offer them something like an audiobook or an additional offer that can go alongside the main book product. And this is our first point of increasing the average order value, that the amount someone spends with us when they buy the book. And so I typically think of things like checklists, templates, tools, resources, plus an audiobook to include in this offer. And that just allows us to price it at $17, $27, and sometimes $37, typically quite high priced. And this is our like highest converting next offer that we have alongside the book. So I mentioned 12% of conversion rate of all clicks. So if we had 12 buyers, we might actually see this offer convert at 40, 50%. And so of those 12 buyers, they're not just buying the book, 6 of them are actually buying a $30 product as well. And that drastically increases how much someone's spending with us. The next kind of stage is...
I was going to say that's before you even sort of thought about doing the high ticket offer, which is the reason why you do the funnel in the first place. So you've got this initial like bump, which actually pays for the ads in the first place.
Sometimes it pays for the ads, sometimes it doesn't. So we do have other offers as well that we try to include in the book funnels before anything high ticket on the back end. Just because, we have to kind of capture the percentage of people who don't take upsell offers to take them so that we can go ahead and liquidate our ad spend as much as possible. So that kind of leads us well into the next step in the book funnel, which is usually what's referred to as an upsell offer. And this is where we can kind of go even higher priced. Usually it depends on your niche. If you're more B2C, business to consumer, you might price something at $50, $60, and so on. But this is where we can kind of start to include things like courses and programs and stuff like that they may just be course versions of the book. I like to call them kind of next steps offers. So like usually your book creates a problem and then this can help solve that. So for me, as an example, if I was to do a book, it might be on book marketing. The next offer would be like, do you want all of our templates and resources to create your book funnel so that you can shortcut your success to book marketing? Because without that, I can explain the book funnel process, but they wouldn't have anything to actually go ahead and implement it fast. And alongside that, I can do video training on setting these things up, how to think about the sales copy, how to think about the offers, all the stuff we're talking about right now. But I could include that alongside templates so that they can get started faster. And so that is a problem that the book and the content has created, and that is getting started fast. Another offer that we can do kind of within that flow is a secondary upsell, because usually our first upsell can also create additional problems. And so running ads and having creative templates and things like that would be another problem that is created from the offers that we've already introduced. And so I could sell like an ads training, a template, creative template solution so that people can get started on the advertising side faster as well.
Right. Okay. So with those upsells and those products, so with the first order bump, you've got that one that you said maybe $25, $30, something like that. And then you've got the second one, which is more expensive. What would the first one look like usually?
in terms of price points.
No, like what would it be?
Yeah. So the example I gave for me would be funnel templates and training to support you being able to create and customize your book funnel. So
Right. Yeah. So
ultimately the frame is like, how do we get you running a book funnel faster or creating a book funnel faster? And so like my offer suite could be around that.
right. Okay.
It's not always the case, but that's typically the best frame to think about positioning your first upsell offer in. Sometimes the clients that we work with, they'll have a book that is around business and systems and growth, and then they'll offer like a sales and marketing kind of product, and that's like a training course or a series of workshops that someone could go through to be able to help them in kind of additional avenues that they might not get out of the book itself.
Yeah. Nice. But just before we talked about the funnels, we talked about different types of ads that you would try. So, for example, with the reviews and like customer proof and things like that, have you noticed any particular types of ads which you think are the best performing?
AI is changing the game of business. Will you be on the winning team? I'm Jordan Wilson, the host of the Everyday AI podcast, and your coach to help you learn the X's and O's of AI. Artificial intelligence isn't just a new player in the game, it's a new sport altogether. So if you don't quickly put AI into play, your competitors will run up the score. I've spent my whole life building winning teams, from coaching basketball to working with big players like Nike and Jordan Brand. My next move? Helping you win with Everyday AI. Listen wherever you get your podcasts or on everydayaipodcast.com. Let's tap into AI together and put points on the board.
Yeah, I mean, the testimonial ads are really good from a retargeting perspective. So if someone goes to buy the book but they don't, like those kind of ads are really good to overcome potential objections someone would have around buying the book and if it's worth it. That's really good. Just from a cold perspective, we kind of operate in a direct response fashion. So we just put the book out there. We show the book in our ad images. We talk about why it's going to be beneficial for the avatar to get the book. And we typically use long form ad copy to kind of explain the ins and outs of the book. And sometimes we'll include text testimonials within that ad copy as well. But primarily the creatives we do are very book focused. We don't try to hide the fact that we're selling them a book. We just put the book on the ad image and we promote that. And then we just have hundreds and hundreds of templates that we use for clients in that respect. And I have some of those resources on my resource page as well that you may have seen as well.
Yeah, the resource page is really helpful. I've used quite a lot of it already to go through some of the ad copy swipe files and the book funnel examples, so that you can see exactly how a lot of these funnels are broken down. I thought that was really helpful. I thought you should have charged for that, actually.
I should have. And to be fair, actually, we did a cohort of people to help them with writing their book and building their book funnel and doing ads and stuff like that. We charged like $7,000 US per person. We had about 10 join. And a lot of those resources that you get on the resource page, they paid to get. Obviously, they got coaching and support and stuff as well. But I did a lot of our development through that cohort of people in the book club, we called it. And so, yeah, I technically should be charging you at least $1,000 for a lot of the resources we developed.
So on your website, you've got some amazing examples of some of the people you've worked with. Some of them have actually been on this podcast as well, but there's some really big names in there like James Franco and others. Let's go through a couple of examples of where your book funnel technique has worked like really well and how that's gone?
Yeah, for sure. I think like a lot of the success of clients has come through them having a really good business. I'll just say that first and foremost.
Yeah.
So without them having like a dialed in backend process, without them having a good systems in their business, like a book funnel wouldn't really be able to support their growth and success. So probably like my biggest success story so far was from Nigel Moore, who was my first client at Smart Author Media. 3 years ago when we started, he raised his hand and said, "Yep, I want to do it with you." And interestingly enough, he had a free book. So just a book PDF. We didn't charge for it or anything. But because of his business being super niche and the fact that he offers so much value to the type of avatar that the book is for and his main offer is for, we actually went through a book funnel process where we're giving the book away for free. Just give us your name and email. On the second page, we still did an upsell, even though we didn't take any payment for the book. And it was ultimately to trial his membership. His membership is $59 a month for everyone. But if you went through the book funnel, you could actually get a trial for $7 for 30 days. And to date, we've given away over 10,000 books. We've had about a 7% conversion rate into his trial, and he's got about a 96% retention rate. So after spending about $250,000 on ads, we've actually generated around $750,000 in revenue, and we've increased his monthly recurring revenue by close to $60,000 now. So he pays us a few grand a month to run his ads. He spends a few grand a month on ads, and we've pretty much 10x that on a monthly basis, plus also the additional revenue he's gotten over time. So it all kind of culminates and just additionally adds up over time, which is pretty cool. I will say it took us about 6 months to be profitable on his book campaign, especially with our retainer and stuff in the mix. But after 3 years of doing it now, we're absolutely just smashing it. You know, we get close to 10 trials a week for his membership, and that's his main offer in his business.
Yeah. That's amazing. And obviously he's got a successful business beforehand. And as you said, it's difficult to just run a funnel to something that isn't as successful. But say you're just starting out and you've got one or two of your first nonfiction books and you're looking at creating this funnel to drive more traffic to your books. Where would be the best place to start with that?
The biggest problem I find when people are trying to do their book marketing and get their book out there is they're doing it with the perspective from how do I sell books and not the perspective of how does this book serve my business and what I'm trying to accomplish. So like from my angle and how we approach book marketing, there has to be a purpose that it's solving. It has to feed into a business. It has to work into growing something bigger, because without those elements in place, the expenditure of a book and a book funnel, a lot of people go into that kind of stuff hoping to make good profits when the profit really is made on the services and the coaching programs and the high ticket stuff on the back end. So there's no problem with book marketing in isolation, as long as you understand that that's the goal that you're trying to accomplish is selling books. But if you're going at it from a money making perspective, a monetary perspective, then the strategy that kind of we employ and the book funnels and stuff like that, it's not really the way. Like I would rather you go and use something like Teddy's software to go ahead and do Amazon ads and get your book out that way, because it doesn't really matter if you're not capturing leads and customers and all that kind of stuff. Still going to hopefully make a profit on marketing and selling the book. But when we look at the book funnel side of things, it becomes much more complicated and nuanced, and it has to be servicing a business in a grander scheme, if that makes sense.
So think about creating that offer first, because a lot of the people I speak to, they write a nonfiction book and they haven't really got a plan for how they can build that business out later on. But I think what you're saying is, when you're writing that book, think about what your offers are going to be later on so that you can try to make more money rather than just selling the book in the first place.
Yeah, it has to be strategic. If you're planning to like launch a book and a business at the same time, then that's all going to be working together for you. But if you just do the book in isolation with no real plan after the fact, then you're just going to be setting yourself up for failure. And usually my recommendation is like have a good business first and then do the book and then kind of grow it all together. I've got a few friends and examples who kind of launched a business with the book together to grow and used kind of the momentum of selling the book and bestseller campaigns and publications and stuff like that to grow the business. And that's great. But without kind of any of those elements in place, you're just going to kind of be throwing money down the drain in a sense. and it's not actually going to be really beneficial for you. There's a lot of effort and energy that goes into what we do. And so in that case, it's fine to market the books, but I'd suggest using something like Amazon and your platform to get help with that.
Yeah, nice. When you say you've got to be strategic about writing the book, so what sort of books usually do well? And I know that's a really broad topic, but you're because you're trying to drive people towards like getting coaching and things. Are there any particular elements that you think that should be in the book?
Yeah, I mean, system distillation is the biggest thing that comes to mind. So it's like, if you do something really well in your business, then a book on how you do that well is good. Like, as an example, a book on book funnels and advertising would be great for me.
Yep.
I've got friends who, Nigel's book, who I mentioned as a case study before, his book is around packaging and pricing your managed service provider offers, because that's a gap in the marketplace. And that's one thing he covers in kind of his program, plus a bunch of other things. I've had clients who have books on real estate investing. So they have a real estate investing education company, and they distill what they do as a strategy in the book. Maybe it's flipping properties, maybe it's investing for long term, maybe it's you're retiring with $200,000+ a year. All that kind of stuff is distilled into the book system and processes. And so that's kind of the meat and potatoes of the book. You obviously have to wrap around other things, like introducing who you are, your credibility, your story, why it matters, why you should listen to me, that kind of stuff. And then I think the on the other side of the meat and potatoes is the next steps kind of thing. So it's like, here's how you implement this information, here's how you action this information, and here's how you work with us if you want some support. So I just generalize the book quite simply, but like typically it's those kind of three main overarching sections.
So I think when you're going, so it doesn't typically work, is what you're saying. If you've already got a book you've written, you don't want to reverse engineer it. You want to write the book with this funnel in mind, I think, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And I mean, if you have a book, that's not a problem. Like, you can always republish a book, or you can always change a book and re-release it as something different. It's not a big deal. I think a lot of people kind of get caught up in that. And then the other thing people get caught up in is the book is the book and it's not a book. Like, you can have many books if you wish, and you can kind of focus in one book in a grand scheme of things as a part of the strategy, then releasing other books as different parts of the strategy. So like, you don't have to just like write the ultimate book, the book of all books right away. You can kind of step it out, and you can iterate the book that you have, re-release it, do an updated version. You can do any of that kind of stuff. You have the control. And so I just kind of empower you to think about it from that angle.
Yeah, definitely. Now, when you're creating these books and then you've created the funnel, I'm guessing quite a lot of testing goes into try and make sure that you're improving this funnel and making it better, as you mentioned with Nigel, over 6 months or something like that. So what are the key bits of data that you look for to see, is this working? Are there any ways I can improve it?
Yeah, so we've got two sides of the coin for this. We've got the ad side, we've got the funnel side. So I have some good baseline metrics to the funnel, what our book conversion rate should be. So of the people who clicked on the page to view the book, how many bought. I've got my baseline conversion rates for order bumps. So did at least 25% of people buy the order bump, which is that checkbox on the order form. I've got my baseline conversion rates for the upsell pages. So is it between 5 and 15%? If it's not in any of those kind of circumstances, if it's not the lowest baseline metric, then what do we do to optimize? And so that's when I go into conversion rate optimization space, and I'll start to look at, is the offer right? Are the headlines good on that specific offer page? What do we need to change to increase this conversion rate? So that's kind of the funnel end. On the back end of the funnel, it's like, are we getting calls booked? Is there pipeline being built for the sales team and so on, if that business has that at that level? But ultimately, is it leading into bigger opportunities for the author and the client? On the advertising side, we've got a few key metrics like CPM, which is cost per 1,000 impressions. And this really just tells us, like, is the targeting for the ads good? We've got things like cost per click. If that is really high, that's telling me that the ad isn't good. What's the cost per result? So what's it costing us to get someone to buy the book? If that's really high, then there's a barrier, and that typically cost per result is it's usually related to the funnel not converting as we want. So we've got all these metrics that I kind of look at from both sides of the ads and the funnels, and the data tells us where to go and what to fix.
Amazing. So, yeah, I don't even know what to ask about that. So,
we can ask about. You can ask me about like, our like testing. How do we like figure out what else to test to improve the results on the ads?
Yeah. You sort of went into it so thoroughly then. I was like, I sort of had some questions, and as you were speaking, they sort of kept being answered. Do you actually look at any of the ads themselves and where you can optimize the things like the copy or the images you use in the ads?
Yeah, so we've got a testing framework that we use for ads. I call it ASCET, which is ASCCT, and it basically stands for ad set, copy, creative, targeting. And in on my website on the resources page, there's an ad SOP. It's basically explained in there, but what we do from a testing perspective is and this is going to get very technical and I apologize, but we kind of do one ad per ad set. And the reason why we do this is so that we can control the budget on the ad. This allows for us to know for sure if that ad is going to work or not. So we will make sure that we're spending the $10 or $20 or $30 per day on that ad specifically. Because if you were to bunch in a bunch of ads into one ad set, the ad set controls the budget and the ads don't all spend in the same way. So you might find that one ad gets 90% of the budget that we set and the other ones get the remaining 10%, however Facebook determines. So that's like the first stage. And then the next one is like we go from, it's kind of like an upside down triangle. So we go from targeting to copy to creative. And this basically means that we do a few different targeting variations. So we'll do things like lookalike audiences. We'll do things like detail targeting and then broad targeting. We kind of figure out what targeting works the best. And for the majority of the campaign timeline, we can usually stick with that targeting if the audience size is big enough. So that's kind of like one of the testing places that we do is targeting. The second testing place is the copy. To be honest, like these days, I just do 5 good versions of copy and then I roll them all into one ad. And then
what do you mean by that? Sorry.
So with Facebook ads, you've got essentially headlines and primary text. The primary text is like the long form text you see above the image, and the headline goes next to the button to, and that's below the image. So we do 5 variations. Facebook allows for 5 variations in an ad. And we basically put all 5 variations on every single ad that we run. And for me, like we used to do one ad image got one piece of copy. And then that same ad image would get a second piece of copy. That same image would get a third and a fourth and a fifth. And so we would have like 5 variations of the ad with all different copy. But I've over time have just found that copy is less important than testing creatives. And creatives are the images and the videos that show when someone sees your ad. So I've kind of built a framework around just like putting 5 variations of the copy in the ad. And then our biggest testing parameter is the creatives that we run. And so we create probably 20 to 30 creatives per month for different clients. And some clients spend multiple thousands of dollars, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 per day with us. And so for those clients, we actually have hundreds of creatives being developed a month for them because we've got a lot bigger budget. We need to consistently test new things. And so to the point of the ad metrics that we look at, if the ad doesn't have a good cost per click, doesn't have a good cost per result, we turn it off and we turn something else on and we test. And we're just consistently turning ads on and off, on and off. The ones that do hit, we increase the budget
So you're
size
basically,
so that we can kind of scale the campaign.
yeah, wow. So you are literally just checking this stuff all the time, making sure there's like the different touch points are working well, or like a different image is working better, or the copy is changing. But what you're saying is that the image actually has a bigger impact than the copy, you think?
Yeah, you can write those 5 good variations of copy and you'll be pretty good for probably Nigel, who's been with us for 3 years. We're still using the original copy that we launched with, but we couldn't use the same creative that whole time. The copy that we used for Nigel when we first launched 3 years ago is the same copy we're using today, but we couldn't have used the same creative that whole time. Like that's been the biggest linchpin for us to continue getting good results for him.
Right. Okay. So so the image does have a much bigger impact than the copy. That's really interesting. It's quite, the first part you said about the targeting was also quite interesting in relation to Amazon ads and the way that I do it, because a lot of people come to us and they say, I want to target this keyword, this keyword, this keyword, this keyword. And I'm like, you need to take a break. You need to think, what is it you're trying to do? Where are you trying to get ranking for? Like, what keywords do you want to appear for? If you put all these keywords in, then your budget is going to go entirely. And as you mentioned, like you sometimes see 90% of the spend ends up going on one ad, which means that you haven't got any data to see if the second one's working. So that same concept works exactly the same in Amazon as it does on Facebook, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, Amazon's it's a targeting heavy platform. There's zero creative, if you will, and pretty much all of your budget is going towards keywords, products, categories, or auto. So like it's primarily a targeting driven platform, whereas Facebook, you can just have a good broad target and it will kind of find buyers within that target that you set. And you need to do creative refreshing to continue to get results for the ads versus targeting refreshing. So they're different in that sense. And I guess it makes sense because the Amazon ad platform is kind of more aligned to how like Google AdWords work, as an example. It's more like, how do we get someone to click based on what we have set as the targeting parameters? So what are the keywords that we want someone to, if they're searching for this, either long form or short form, then we're going to show our ad. Whereas Facebook, it's more interruption based. So they're just scrolling their feed. And as long as we're kind of matching the kind of the targeting that someone might be interested in from that sense, even down to the country, the age, the gender, and potential interests, then we're pretty much set. Like we've got an audience size of 20 million or so. And so we can probably find a few thousand buyers within that pool of people versus having to continuously refresh who we're looking to serve the ads to.
Yeah. One thing that's interesting, I was chatting to someone the other day who is a Facebook ads expert, and he hardly does any like targeting when he's trying to find the audience anymore. He says he just lets Facebook algorithm sort of work out exactly who the customer's meant to be. Do you go into quite a lot of detail with the people you're trying to target?
It's getting more and more limited today. So when we started 3 years ago with this particular agency, detailed targeting was a must. You must have good targeting options. Back then, Facebook had introduced something called Advantage Targeting Plus, which is like it will go outside your targeting options to find more people to buy, which was good. But it's moving more and more. And I think by mid-year this year, they're going to remove detailed targeting completely. So you'll only be able to set the age, the country, the gender, and Facebook will do the targeting kind of with its own algorithm and AI to find the people who might buy or opt in to your offers.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like Facebook has so much data on you that it's like just let them run with it. They know they want your ad to succeed as well, because the more your ad succeeds, the more you spend with them. So it's not like that it's in their interest that the ad works.
Yeah, 100%. It's getting easier and easier, but they're trying to push more and more AI for copy for the ads and for creatives for the ads. And then they're trying to push more and more for like them kind of managing budgets and campaign setup and stuff like that. For the next few years anyway, I see like it's not going to replace a good media buyer like me and my team, because you know what they're trying to give you from a creative and a copy perspective is just, it's not good. and you kind of have to feed it first with your own version of copy. Then it will kind of go, hey, AI thinks you can use this variation of copy, but it's not usually as good as what we can write. And it's most likely it's just a small tweak on what you've written. So yeah, we're not going to lose a job anytime soon, but they're trying to push more and more to like, how do we get the AI to do it for our customers so that they have success longer term and keep spending money with us. So it is an interesting paradigm.
Are there any big mistakes that you see people make with funnels? You know, you've obviously done thousands now. So are there any common mistakes you see people make?
Oh, yeah. I like to, I mean, I think the first thing is like people overcomplicate it a lot. Like it's not complicated for us anymore, but just because we've done it so many times, but a lot of people still try to overcomplicate it. And so when I share like my book funnel template resources and stuff, I try to make those as simple as possible. It's not exactly how we do it in the agency, but it's simple enough and it works. I think people also kind of get caught up on what they can do as upsells and things like that. And so for me, like when we're doing funnels for clients, we usually like to have a few backups of different offers, because it's not always the case where every single offer converts really well. And if we don't have backups, then we're kind of frantically trying to prepare new things to put in the funnel to run. And so we kind of these days like to have a couple of backups ready to go for the funnel, just in case the offer doesn't convert as expected. And the same is true for ads, right? So for creatives, like whenever I'm coaching someone on doing creatives, I'll say you need to have at least 10 ads ready to go, just in case the ads that you do run don't work. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But at least you're prepared for that worst case scenario.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what does it look like when people work with you? So let's talk about that step where it's like they decide to work with you. What does that process look like from first meeting you to getting their ads up and live?
Yeah, so if they don't have a book funnel, then we have to go through that project together. So we usually just get a manuscript of their book. We will read that. We'll write the copy. We'll do a strategy call for the book funnel as well to kind of identify what each offer in the book funnel could be and how it's leading towards, getting them more sales calls or whatever on the back end that gets people to convert into high ticket buyers. So we'll kind of do that strategy. We'll write the copy. Once the copy is kind of done, then we go through a design phase where we will design all the pages, bespoke custom design, and it's all based on the copy. So it's really nice. Once that's approved, then we do a development. So we build it in either a platform that they already use, something like Go High Level or, Kartra, Kajabi, ClickFunnels, whatever they use. We'll then go through the development, and then we'll integrate it with their email lists and all that kind of stuff. And then we go through a kind of testing and validation phase with the ads. So we'll prep the ads, we'll launch the ads. Usually 14, 30 days, we figure out what works, what doesn't work. And then we can kind of double down on what does work. And then we look at scaling opportunities. So 25 days ago, we launched a new funnel for a client, and we've done an ad budget increase 3 times now. We've gone from $100 a day to start, and we're at $400 a day now. And so we kind of look at those opportunities. The ads are working really well. The funnel's converting as expected. It's profitable, or it's breaking even at least. Let's increase the budget so that we can get more volume through. So we kind of look at those opportunities, and then we make the scaling recommendations to clients. And yeah, like I mentioned before, sometimes it goes into the thousands of dollars per day. Like we've got one that's at about $6,000 a day on ads for just their book and other kind of complimentary offers that we're running for them.
Yeah. Wow. That's quite a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining. It's been great to chat about funnels. I know quite a bit about this topic, but it's not as much as you, clearly, and not in as much detail as all the analytics that you go into. So it's been fascinating to hear all about that. If people want to get in touch with you to get hold of their resources, or also to talk to you about setting up a funnel for themselves, where's the best place to do that?
Yeah, for sure. So socials are good. Facebook is my primary platform that I check. If you send me a friend request, just send me a message as well. That way I know you're legit and you came from here. It's Chris Benetti. You can find me on there. Glasses, long hair, hat, all the stuff that you're seeing right now will be visible on Facebook.
I've noticed your haircut's changed in a few of your pictures on your website though. So sometimes you've got like quite a neat short haircut, and then now you're looking a bit more Australian.
Yeah, those are. I do need to do some more photos. Yes. Well, socials is good. smartauthormedia.com. On that website, you'll find there's a resources tab in the menu. You can get pretty much like we spoke about, $6,000 worth of value on one page. And then there's a green button on there as well. If you want to book a chat with me, it's a book marketing chat. We can go through what you're doing from a book marketing perspective, or what you're trying to do. We can go through your funnel and kind of strategize on that together. And if you want us to work together for more support, helping set that up for you and running ads for you, then obviously we can discuss that on the call as well. But it's a value first based call. Like I'd try to show up and give you 30 minutes of as much value as I can.
Yeah, I mean, you give away so much for free. I mean, as I mentioned, I've actually used one of your resources already, and it was amazing. So yeah, thank you for that.
Most welcome.
Well, thanks, Chris, for joining the call. It's been great to chat to you, and we'll speak again soon.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Right. Thank you so much for tuning into the Publishing Performance Podcast. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, let me tell you about Publishing Performance, the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales, but are not really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books. And if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximize your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalized ad account manager to create your ad campaigns, to choose your best keywords, and to make adjustments in real time. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure that your investment is being used effectively, and Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. Just go to publishingperformance.com to get started with Amazon ads for just $1. Thank you so much for tuning into the Publishing Performance Podcast. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, let me tell you about Publishing Performance, the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales, but are not really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books. And if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximize your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalized ad account manager to create your ad campaigns, to choose your best keywords, and to make adjustments in real time. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure that your investment is being used effectively, and Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. Just go to publishingperformance.com to get started with Amazon ads for just $1.